Woohoo! There you go. Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members across the country. Welcome, welcome. Tonight, it's a very special evening. I love what's going on here. We're our second episode of Cellar Confidential. Tonight, we're going all the way. Yeah, the second one. The second we already one done. So we iron the little the little wrinkle at the beginning, and now we are going full on 100% all the way to Ontario in Niagara with Sue-Ann Staff. Sue-Ann, welcome. How's it going?
Oh, it's going fantastic. How are you? You look someplace very glamorous, very special with your backdrop there. I've got some wine and some stuff. You've got palm trees and stuff. It's crazy.
You know what? And it's pretty sweet out here. Pretty sweet. I am in Victoria at my in-laws in the backyard. So my father-in-law has a knack for gardening, and he's been building that garden for years and years, and I would say decades. And yeah, that little backyard is just like really special. And guess what? We've been here for 3 days now. We're going to be here for another week. We're in the tent. We're in the backyard camping with the kids. So this is pretty sweet deal here. But live tonight with you, Sue-Ann. I can't wait to dig a little deeper into the past, like way in the past, how the vineyard was established and how your family developed the whole land into what is now a beautiful and established estate winery. So how's your day today? How's the weather out there?
Hot, hazy, and humid here in Niagara right now. It's one of those days where when you wake up in the morning and it's 25 degrees, but it feels like 36. That's the best part of the day. I think today we topped out at maybe 32 degrees, but felt like 40, I guess. It was pretty ugly. So
yeah. Sticky and wet, right?
Sticky and wet. Yep.
Yeah. That's the thing that we realize when we like in Kelowna, it's warm, but it's not like sticky and wet. And when we got here a couple of days ago, I'm like, it's 29 on the thermometer. I really feel like if I'm dying, what's going on? But yeah, that's like the humidity. So, but we had a gorgeous day here as well. And we are ready to talk about how the estate of Sue-Ann Staff became who you guys are. And I would like you to start us off by like how everything started for your family.
Well, once upon a time, long ago, in a country far away. It's kind of neat because we're one of Niagara's longest lived families here that's been tied to agriculture for a couple centuries, which is an anomaly in itself. There's probably only about a handful of us that have been crazy enough to not be clever enough and leave the farm. So my family arrived here in Niagara in the late 1800s. It was my great grandfather Robert Staff with his wife Mira. We were the first to arrive here. So it was 7 generations ago, and we started growing grapes the first vineyards were planted in 1899 by my great grandfather Elisha Staff and a great uncle. So that's a 3.3 acre block of Concords that's still in production today. So I claim that it is Canada's oldest commercial vineyard that's still in production. So, and I'll always keep it going that it's part of our roots. It's something that's still alive that was planted by ancestors. And now we don't make a single drop of wine from Concords. That goes into juice. It has nothing to do with wine. It just is part of the nostalgia. So we've ridden the whole wave of the whole wine industry, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. We're in a bit of a rebirth now, growing, devoting the vineyards right to vinifera grapes of Riesling, Cabernet Franc, Pinot Gris, Viognier, and then we have a little bit of Vidal and Baco Noir for hybrids, just for stability. So, yes. So I guess Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say when you have this big influence on grape growing and winemaking in your life, you really just don't. You're pretty tunneled vision growing up, and so I just never thought about anything other than grape growing and winemaking. So right from the beginning. So
Now you stole my next question. You
ah,
absolutely stole my bridge here. It was, did you ever at any point while you were growing up said, I do not want to do that? When I'm going to be a big girl, I want to be a, I don't know, an airplane driver, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. Have you ever thought of being something else than being in charge of the family business?
I guess like a little bit through my teenage years and stuff, and also too. I mean, we all wanted to be astronauts, I think, because the space shuttle program was starting, and so that was a thought when I was like 9 and 10 and 11, and then I also was a competitive figure skater growing up. So had all those dreams of aspirations of being an Olympic superstar and all those things. But when life starts to get real when you're 17. And it's like, okay, what's going to happen here? So it was a local neighbor that recommended I be a winemaker, and I was like, well, that sounds cool. I had never even like heard of such a thing. Like, well, what do they do, and how does this work? And the more I learned about it, the more, because we were just grape growers then, right? Well, not just grape growers. We were very big and very good grape growers. And we were the largest grape growers for Jordan wines back in the times. Probably with 60% of Mira Christina came from this property. So you can thank us for your first hangover, likely. Plus it was about 1,000 acres of grapes at the time. And so it just seemed like a natural progression. And it seemed like, every generation does something different on the farm to put their stamp on it, and improvements and changes and additions to. Well, someday we're going to need a winery, and I'm going to be the winemaker. So here we are.
That is so cool. And I'm seeing here tuning in a bunch of people from Western Canada.
Oh,
so,
God,
because I think you guys are a staple in Niagara. Can you tell people from Western Canada, where are you guys located? Because when we talk for us here in Western Canada, if you have not studied the whole map, well, Niagara on the Lake, Niagara Escarpment, the Bench, or all of that can be a little confusing. So who's your neighbor and where exactly the winery is located?
Right. So sometimes I like to describe it like this. If you were to take Yonge Street, Toronto, and just go due south, go straight across Lake Ontario, you will come right up 17th Street, which is the road that comes up the Niagara Escarpment, and you will come right by our farm. That's how direct online we are with the CN Tower. So we're actually we're 30 minutes from Niagara Falls. We're wedged in here between part of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. That's the Niagara Peninsula, with the Niagara River flanking us on the east side, the Lake Ontario on the north, and Lake Erie on the south. Most of the grapes are growing along the Lake Ontario shores, and within 5 to 10 kilometers of that lake shore as well. So as you come back from Niagara, from Lake Ontario, eventually hit the Niagara Escarpment. It's a 300-foot change in elevation very quickly that goes up. And that's what holds all the heat from Lake Ontario in that area, right between the lake and the Niagara Escarpment. And it's that elevation change that gives us Niagara Falls as well. So very important feature in the area. So where I am is a little town called Jordan. It's just west of the booming metropolis of St. Catharines, Ontario by 10 minutes. And we're right on the brow of the Niagara Escarpment. So my closest neighbors, winery-wise, would be Flat Rock Cellars, Westcott Vineyards. That would be just literally 5 minutes walk from here. Cave Springs Winery and the Inn on the 20. That is just down below the escarpment from us here, and over 2 country roads. And so those are my closest neighbors to me. And then, of course, Henry Pelham would be to my east as well. So as far as major friends and fellow winerymen. So
that helped a lot. Just by name and distance, it's really, really helpful just to put everything in perspective. Thank you for that. And I would like to know about is there a big difference between the grape growing business from the family and Sue-Ann Staff Estate Winery? Did you kept the whole growing, selling grape to other, like the grape growing business, versus only the winery was completely independent on its own?
Well, the winery certainly is mine and mine alone. As my own silliness, stubbornness, craziness that started it. And now that's not to say that I don't call on and volunteer my mother and my sister-in-law and brother to help me at times, and now my niece and nephew, now that they're in their teenage years. So, but really, it is up to me to keep that rolling. Luckily, I have a gorgeous boyfriend, Rob, who's in the picture for about the last year and a half type thing, and that's been really great to breathe new energy into my winery life. The farm, though, like, I mean, the cut is also interconnected, though, right? You can't make great wine without great grapes, and so yes, you can draw a line in the sand to say this is this business and that's that business, and they're independent entities, but really they're all together because one can't survive without the other one. And I take great pride in growing grapes. I every time someone does a job in the vineyards, I tell them that I am jealous because I'd rather be there as opposed to in front of my computer. But apparently this seat that I'm in right now appears to be where I need to live 80% of my life. So for the time.
And you know what? I that's how I feel, because if it was just for me, I will taste one and review wine all day long. But sometimes I have to do other things like accounting, and these stuff. Like, I would just want to shoot myself. Like, how boring is that?
Right. And I love the tasting part, and I used to love writing tasting notes. And then lately is like, you just can't get a tasting note out of me for love nor money. And when I'm in the zone, you get into zones, right? Where you're just like, today I was in a total accounting zone, and don't talk, don't write. I say, I'm going deep undercover, just to channel my inner Eddie Murphy, I guess. So from, was it Beverly Hills Cop? Wasn't that? So I can't remember now. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop, exactly.
I'm dating myself. I'm dating myself. I can. I
guess what? We're the same generation here. Do you remember when he does these noise? What is a?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Well, no, same here. But I like all of the analogy that you do with your dogs. Because bricks approved. This is one of my favorite line for you. Please tell us. And Mira always tells me, Carl, you need to bring the stories to life from the winery. I want to know everything about Bricks. Come on, please tell us.
So Bricks is the world's happiest Bernese mountain dog, and so I have a new Bernese. So I had one to start off with. We're calling now Bricks Alpha. Sadly, about a year ago, I had to put him down, but he was 11 years old. Was extraordinary for a Bernese mountain dog. That dog was absolutely sensational. He just laid outside of the winery here, greeted every single guest. And it wasn't until he got up to about like 300 or 400 belly rubs in a day that you saw him kind of starting to tire. But that was like a little 5-minute cat nap, and he'd be right back in. So, oh my gosh, that's my main man there. Oh man, he's the best. I love that dog.
Yeah, sorry for bringing that back to life, but we thought, Mira and I, that was just one of the most beautiful picture of all.
Oh, he was such a lover and such a womanizer as well. That there'd be a crowd of people walking into the winery, and the guys would be out front and the ladies behind, and the guy's like, "Hey, Briggs, come see me," and then he like just blow right by them and go right to the women like, "Hey."
Was he French? Was he French?
I do not know. So we just got the Bricks replacement, if that's appropriate to say. I don't know. So another Bernese mountain dog. He's 14 weeks old. He loves, the world is a chew toy right now, and those razor sharp puppy teeth are deadly. And so we're calling him Bricks as well, because on the farm, you just come up with one dog name, and that's just your dog's name forevermore, whether it's Rex or Smokey or Blassie or whatever it is. So this, through my time here, they'll likely all be Bricks. So that means now the very first Bricks Original, will be known as Bricks Alpha. And then this is Bricks Bravo. That makes the next one Bricks Charlie, Briggs Delta, Briggs Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, like all the letters that you use in your radio call signals. And that works for myself and my boyfriend. I grew up flying, and I got my pilot's license at 17. So I've been on the radios, and my boyfriend used to climb radio towers out of high school. So works for both of us. So
that is one of the most amazing story. What's in your glass right now? Is it the pink lady, the pink lady?
Fancy farm girl, Foxy Pink.
There you go. You got it.
If you don't put the Foxy in Foxy, there's a $5 fine. And I'm collecting.
Okay, well, I'll do an email transfer.
You have to do like whether your voice, your attitude, or whatever it is to put the Foxy in Foxy. It's up to you.
We're gonna get back to the wine selection after, and where the second label, if I may call it like that, came from the idea, because I just love the quote behind the label. But I want to stay with the dogs and the vineyards and all that stuff. Where Sue-Ann is the most comfortable? Are you more comfortable? I know it's not the office. That's how we already have. That's already clear. Is it in the cellar, or is it in the vineyard?
You know what? That's a tough one, and that's what I guess what I really like about owning a winery, is that I get to do a little bit of everything. And because it's really, I don't mean to sound diplomatic or like being politically correct about this all, but it really is true. There's nothing better than walking through the vineyard and checking out the grapes and tasting, especially at harvest time. In the cellar, I love cleaning things. Like I just absolutely love power washing. I think it's the best job on the planet. I love promoting wine. If you give me a microphone and hey, will you be on television or the radio? Like I'm there. I want to promote it. I want to promote myself as much as I want to promote my region.
No shit, I can't tell. Wine. I can't tell.
Yes. And so the office is the least likely place I want to be, and yet it is the one where I get stuck the most. So I get more stress sitting at a desk for 6 hours than I do doing absolutely anything else. I'd rather bottle wine for 14 hours straight than sit here for 6 hours. So, but alas,
I think some very smart people told before me, I think good wines are made in the vineyard. Is it really true to you?
It really is, especially Riesling. That Riesling really reflects the soil that it's growing in, and mistake in the vineyard just gets amplified in the cellar. So knowing what's happening in the vineyard is of utmost importance. When you're making larger, like bigger, fuller bodied wines, there's a little bit more latitude. Maybe Riesling is just so obvious, and Riesling is what 75% of my production is devoted to. Hence sparkling Riesling dry, off dry, semi-dry, ice wine some years, and did I say sparkling? Oh, ice wine. Some years I've made it ice wine, sparkling ice wine, or Riesling ice wine. So it's, and my rosé is made from Riesling too. This one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was just about to say, I think you're missing the rosé in your lineup here. But was it by choice? Was it by choice, or was it a little bit more by convenience? What I mean by that is you already had some holding, the Riesling was right there, or it's something, doesn't matter what you would do in the wine business, it would have been tagged to Riesling.
That's a great question, because even before it was like a necessity, let's say, because of how I'm going to use up all this Riesling. I'm thinking back to my Pillatieri days. There, the rosé I made there was Riesling, Pinot Grigio, and Baco Noir blended together. And then when I started the winery here, I was like, oh, sugar, I forgot about a Riesling. Oh, I know. I'll just do what I did at Pillatieri, put some red in. I started Mrs. Pillatieri. She loved my rosés when I was at Pillatieri, and this is what I turned Italian. Sue-Ann, how are you making the nice wine? How are you making the nice rosé? So I tell her, she's like, what? You want a little bit of red in the wine? You need a little red in the wine to make it this? That's so nice. And so I came home and I did the same thing, and then it won a gold at Ontario Wine Awards. And then it won a gold again 2 years later at Ontario Wine Awards, which is a very, very tough competition. It's one of the few competitions where it's like Olympic medaling. So only one gold, one silver, one bronze per category. And everybody has a rosé, you may have noticed. So it's a very competitive category. And then one year when it didn't win, the label won. So I think it's it's a blend that's worked. You get the zippiness from the Riesling, the acidity, the brightness, the fresh crispness that you expect from a rosé, and then the Cabernet Franc gives it the color, obviously, but then some tannin, some texture, and a little more like a little more muscle, a little more like your shoulders to the wine, let's say, and it works well as long as and don't make it sweet. Make it a teeny bit of sweetness, but just to round it off. I don't want it to be a sweet bubblegum wine. So,
and I think you just nailed it on the head here, because I think Canadian more and more, they don't want, compared to the American, they have the scare of the sweetness. And sometimes the problem we have is the residual sugar don't speak for itself, because not too often we publish the acidity level. So if the residual sugar speak at 19 gram per under, and the acidity is very high, people still get scared about it because the number of RS is high. But the key component in all that, it's not the residual sugar, it's the acidity level. And what you get in the Riesling and mostly where you are located, that's that beautiful natural acidity who lift up all of these beautiful flavors. And
very, very true. And it's a battle that I have had to have often with up and coming assistant winemakers or cellar masters and stuff, like, oh, the Riesling, let's not add any sugar, like let's not sweeten it this year, leave it bone dry. And I was like, okay, you go try that wine, take a bottle home, bone dry, have it with dinner, and come back and tell me how you feel. Like, you have to have a little bit of sweetness there, because that acidity is almost, we get such searing acidities here on the Niagara Escarpment, on the benches here, that acidity is like enamel removing, and like you almost have like an upset feeling, because it's just so acidic. It needs that sweetness to balance it off, and it also gives it a bit of texture as well, and rounds off the wine, and makes it that much more delightful.
Yeah, and the complexity, right? The complexity, when that zippiness, that lemon peel, but at the end you got that nice tangerine and a little bit more of that sweeter fruit, the maraschino cherry or whatever it can be. So the complexity and the long finish, I think that, to me, that's the signature of Niagara.
Right, and especially here on the bench land, there's something really special about the land here. And as you go across the brim of the top of the Niagara Escarpment, like, so you have my Roberts Block Riesling, and then just like hop over 17th Street to the Nadia's Vineyard at Flat Rock Cellars, then hop over Victoria Avenue to the famed St. Urban's Vineyard of Vineland Estates, and the CSV vineyards of Cave Springs Vineyard. Like, we're all along the same ridge along the top of the escarpment, and the most classic Rieslings are Charles Baker Riesling comes from along this strip as well. So like, these are some of the most like prized Rieslings in the peninsula, and dare I say the country, just to get a little
oh yeah, come on, put it out there. I'm supporting you, because like I mentioned to you earlier, I said, and I'm tasting gazillions of wine from BC every week. The best Riesling that I've tasted this year is by far the 2018 Roberts Block Riesling from you. This is the best Canadian Riesling I've tasted across the board. And I told Mira, it might be even the best international Riesling. Like, bringing the Alsatian Riesling in the whole equation, this Riesling was the top of the top that I've tasted this year. So, and you're just mentioning names and like who's on the escarpment with you and on that ridge, and that these guys have been making great Rieslings for decades. So,
yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
No, very, very true. So Roberts Block is our most prized Riesling here. It comes from the oldest block of Riesling that we have. It's about 20. Ooh, I gotta think about this now. 20. Oh wow, 27 years old now, I guess those vines are. And so now, like, when you get to the end of the vineyard, you're right at the edge of the Niagara Escarpment, and there's not a lot of soil there. In fact, some of the anchors don't even go into the ground. They hit bedrock. So that means the roots of the vine are literally like on the rock of the Niagara Escarpment. And so they're bringing up that minerals, that flinty minerals, wet stone notes that come with that contact, and from that lime rich soil as well. is pretty extraordinary. So the vines, they really kind of struggle in some ways. Like they're not these great big huge luscious green vines that you can see that they're struggling for existence, but that means that they're working hard. And the berries are small vines, and that means lots and lots and lots of flavor. So it's a pretty special spot.
Not sure exactly about Riesling, but about at what age we'll say a Riesling vine is priming and is in maximum potential. Is it more 20, 25 years old? Is it older, or is it a little bit of vines that like to perform at a younger age?
So yeah, I'd say probably when you're starting above 10, 15 years is where you're going to start to see its best performance, and it will last a long, long time. I would say up to 45 years, no problem, and maybe even longer. Here's hoping, because I don't really feel like replanting that in my lifetime, and plan on keeping its pedigree very high. So my niece and nephew can take it on from there. So
exactly. Something I wanted to know before I want you to tell us the story about the Chestnut block. Now that we're talking about Riesling, the Chestnut Tree. I mean, how old were you when you ride the tractor for the first time?
How old
That's the question that I've been thinking about. I was like, I want to know when you started to drive a tractor.
Well, interesting story. I was very jealous because my younger brother got to drive everything, but I was I was not allowed to drive tractors, and but I hounded. And plus I was at the skating rink all the time anyway too. There was no time to teach me, I guess. But 12 years old, finally my dad put me in an open field. And as he left me after he trained me, he said, "Now this is the biggest tractor we own and the biggest disc that we own. Be careful." I'm like, okay, all right, I'm really careful. So I'm up and down the field. I'm sure he watched from far away. You know, he was just 12-year-old kid in the biggest tractor, which now would be like, a $250,000 setup type thing in this type of machinery. So anyway, I'm coming up to the end of the field. There's a great big huge manure pile there. I'm getting ready to, I have to lift the disc first and then do the turn and then get back straight and put the disc back down. Okay, so I lift the disc and I go to turn, and I'm turning and I'm turning and I'm turning and I'm not turning, by the way. I'm going straight and yet I'm turning, and I went right up into the manure pile. I of course had a little meltdown, turned the machine off, and ran across the road. I knew the neighbors really well. And so he said, "You know what, Sue-Ann, something went wrong. I'll go fix it. We'll never tell your dad what happened. Like, let's go." So we get over there and we see blown hydraulic lines that the steering hydraulic line had blown. And so that's why I couldn't turn, and the disc didn't go up, and the tractor didn't turn. And thank God there was a manure pile there to stop me. So,
oh anyway. My God, what a funny story! And I didn't know it just came up like that. But the answer is just brilliant. I love it.
The funny thing is, I haven't told that story.
And now,
like,
you know what? Live on Carl's Wine Club, the whole social media thing. I love it. I knew it's going to be the best interview ever. Hey, do you still love going on the tractor, or is something you don't do a whole lot anymore? You give your boyfriend do it, or the nephews, or you still like jumping on and just like headset on and like leave me the heck alone? I'm in my element.
I wish I'd love to be in the tractor, but it just doesn't work. Every time I'm like 4 hours away doing something like that is a 12-hour ramification somewhere else. So I do love it more than anything, but I just don't have that luxury of being out there anymore. So yeah, but it is my chosen location. When I started the winery back in 2008, I guess before I was doing some consulting at that time too. That wasn't really too hot and heavy yet. So that was probably my last good summer of, getting good, 10 and 12-hour tractor runs in, and the good old days. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's speaking about girls. Come on. I want to know about the other label that you have. Okay. Because there's the Sue-Ann Staff label, and there's that fun super cool label that you came up, and the quote in the back, the foxy lady, like I just love it. Where is the idea comes from? Is it just like you wanted to get your girl, like the girl inside of you wanted to get out of the farm and just like say to the world, this is who I am, or where that's coming from?
Yeah. Well, I started off with just like the Sue-Ann Staff label, the one that you see today, and hadn't even thought of a second brand at all during that time. And then I guess it was like 3 or 4 years in, it was like, I need a second brand. I need a restaurant brand. I need an LCBO brand, whatever it needs to be. And I felt like with the Sue-Ann Staff brand, I had to like it's a person, it's a known entity. I don't know. Like it's tough to really connect as a third party, let's say, or just as an unknown, someone that doesn't know the brand or know me. So anyway, I came up with the concept of Fancy Farm Girl. So during my Guelph University days, this is like the early 1990s, and I had like this stunning Trans Am with like the big eagle on the hood, the 6-speed manual transmission, like the big anniversary series thing. And I go like screaming through a crowd of people, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's that fancy grape grower from Niagara." And I'm like, "Is that me? Like me?" And so I got known as like a fancy farm girl. And no, mind you, I was on the varsity skating. This, and so like big floofy things in my hair all the time. So anyway, I got to be known as a Fancy Farm Girl. So I started the brand Fancy Farm Girl, knowing that maybe like you don't have to be a fancy farm girl, but maybe a fancy farm girl, or your grandmother is one, or your aunt is one, or you want to be one, or and we all have this idyllic view of the farm, right? The reality of how much work it is like completely foreign to many, and so and then all that we probably grew up watching Green Acres and things like that, so like put all that together and it turned into a brand. Now I put a little bit more of like the girl power or just happiness into it as well, by saying things like, years back while tending the farm, I had the revolution. I love the farm life. This is my Paris, my Australia, my South Africa, my freedom. So I dress the part, enjoy life through the rose-colored glasses of the Fancy Farm Girl. But the farm is a metaphor. The attire is an approach. The reality is that there's a fancy farm girl in all of us.
All of you guys. All of you. But that's when Mira, I'm not sure if I know she's in now, but I don't know if she can pop in, because that's one of the things that when I was researching, when my good friend David Walker told me about you, he was the first one. David, he said, I really like it. There you go, Mira, just pop in. And when she was looking at the Fancy Farm Girl, that's where she fell in love with you before even she tasted the wine. She's like, oh my God. And Mira, how's it going out there?
Good. I have children around here. It's fantastic. But yeah, totally. I read that and I almost cried, Sue-Ann. I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. Like, what an inspired thing to say. I loved it. So I'm so glad we get to meet you now.
Well, I wanted it to be something real and not a gimmick, because we can all make I don't know, the purple kangaroo or the green dress, or I don't know, whatever brand, and by something that's authentic and true and me. So, and always something we can relate to it.
Totally.
And also, the other reality too is that women buy 58% of the wine, and we've all been through that daunting task of being in the liquor store, looking at the sea of labels, not knowing what to buy, and like you're buying on label alone, for crying out loud, most of the time. That you're like, oh, I heard of this, I heard of that. Oh, maybe this. Oh, this was $5 more. It must be 100 times better than like all that anxiety that you get right when you're buying a wine. And I thought, if this makes it that much, even that 2% more approachable, then let's do it. So, hence,
nailed it.
I love it.
Mira, do you have a question for Sue-Ann before I keep going and I get into serious stuff? And
well, like what that Chestnut Tree thing, we still got to get to that.
Oh yeah.
The barrel thing, like the barrel spinning. We have this incriminating photo of you here. I gotta find
Oh
this
my
one,
God.
right?
Okay.
There you go. There you
So-
go. Now you're on the spot, Sue-Ann. I want to hear about the barrel flipping thing. We want to hear about it.
So, well, it all started one drunken evening in the catacombs of Creekside Winery with a bunch of other winemakers just when their barrel cellar was made. So it was like 1998 or something like that, 99. And it was like, I can roll a barrel faster. I can use a pallet jack faster. I can do this. And so we did this like winemaker Olympics out of nowhere. And I didn't just win against all the guys. I smoked them. Mind you, this is back, I'm pretty stealth still because, all the skating and I've always had a lot of really good physical strength being a farm girl. Right. And so this legend ensued of like, as if I had like this superhuman strength or something, some superhero status. And I'd meet people even around, like people that came in from overseas to do vintage here. And they'd be like, oh, you're Sue-Ann Staff. Like, I hear you're really strong. And you can do this and you can do that. And I'm like, what? Like,
the legend of Sue-Ann.
Yeah. So we started. Okay. So this picture you have to check. This is the first year we did a barrel rolling contest at Winter Wine Fest. So just hold the picture for a little bit because I want to show you something. So it cracks me up because I made this big deal on the microphone beforehand. We're doing this barrel rolling. We're going to put the legend to rest today. I smoked all the guys before, and I'm gonna do it again today. Well, here I am coming to the finish line, and I've got this thing. I'm going to win. And with that, I slipped and fell. So don't look at me, even though that's hilarious. But look at all the people in the background. All the women are going, oh no. And all the guys are going, ha 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 ha.
That's true.
It is. Like so it's just a glorious photo that just seems to follow me around. And that's okay.
Oh my God, that is brilliant. And you guys do that every single winter at the festival? I don't say like you've been involved now, but is it something like new, younger people from the industry are part of?
So we've done it every year until this year, obviously with COVID. We've done it every year since 12 years, I guess. Oh no, it's too long. 10 years. 10 years we've been doing it every year. And so now ironically, I have never won, but I'm the only one that's been in the contest every year. So that's got to be worth something. I'm not sure if I'll do it again. I'm 50 now, and things hurt more for longer. And
I'm with you. We're not getting any younger.
Yeah. I think I'll. So we did do a virtual one this year with Dan Stauk from Malivoire and myself, and I'm trying to think who the other guy was. One of the Cellar guys from Fielding Winery. Darn, his name eludes me right now. Anyway, somewhere on the internet you can find that video. It's very well done. It's about 2 minutes, and if you do find that video, put on full screen, turn the volume way up, and have a giggle. I'll find it somewhere. I'll post it on my Facebook page, and then maybe Carl, you can link it over. It's hilarious. It's good for all of us. It's cute.
Maybe we can attach that with the reorder link that we're gonna send to everyone tomorrow morning. Yeah, how about that?
All right, I'm gonna write it down. Okay, video, Carl. Video.
So
Carl.
speaking about nothing last year, just before we start talking a little bit more about the wine and the Chestnut Tree legend, I want to know, because that's a question that I like to talk, and I know the difference. The answer is a little different when I talk with people from BC and the Okanagan and people from Niagara. Last year was a very tough year. Not in terms of vintage, because 2020 vintage is an absolutely stellar in your region, better than the Okanagan. Some winemaker tells me that it's a vintage of a lifetime for his very specific region. But there was also COVID, and with the tasting room closed for almost like for all year last year. What was the impact in general, not only on Sue-Ann's winery, but in the whole Niagara wine business?
Yes, I've been a little vocal on it because it is not the same response, or it's not the same effect all the way across the wine industry. So for anyone that's small or craft size like myself, we are really, really, really dependent on people coming to the property, people coming to enjoy the wine. That we talk it up, we bring them in, we rub elbows to tell them about it.
It's about
We
the
love
experience.
the
You guys are
experience.
not selling only wine. You guys are selling the experience. Come and see us. If you
Yeah.
get here, you know that they're going to live with a case of wine. You know it because you provide the wow factor. If they can get there, oh, it's a different story, right?
Yeah, and you know, it's also like it's the ambiance and the feel and the way time kind of stands still. It's a relaxation thing. So it's so you've so and then and then throw in a culinary component with it too, because you're going to stay a while and have a little charcuterie or have some smoked salmon or something with it too, or whatever it may be, right? And so and if you're not doing that here at the wineries, then you might be doing that at a restaurant. And so you come to Niagara, and maybe you don't have a chance to get to a restaurant, but you go to come to the wineries, but you go to a restaurant instead. It has some beautiful Niagara wines there. Well, and then the events that we have, like we are a festival country here, where piles of festivals, piles of like passport exploratory programs for people to check out the area. All of that was yanked out from under our feet, just like so many other things were to everybody. So I'm not crying the blues of just us. I'm sympathetic to the rest of the world too, obviously, but that is our mainstay, and that is people coming to the property. Now, I mean, I was really super lucky to have a pretty robust database, and we quickly flipped to being online. I turned into a marketer more than a winemaker or a winery owner than anything, and I already have a very strong marketing girl that works with me, Cara, who's a superstar, and we just turned it on and did the best we could doing online sales, and we created content as well, doing a sizzling with sass every Saturday, little cooking component matched up with one of the wines is like kind of like a sommelier part in a sense. We did making ice wine cocktails every Friday. We called it Frosty Friday, and then in curbside pickup. So now, compared to some of the larger wineries that have a really great presence in the LCBO, which here in Ontario is like still, LCBO is king and is almost the only retailer in a sense. They could not bottle wine fast enough, and to me that means they're printing money. Well, we really struggled. We really struggled and really had to dig deep. Thank God for that database, and that kept me alive. So I don't know how I would get through without it. So
Yeah, and and I think now the industry is taking a new direction, right? With the direct to consumer. That's how Carl's Wine Club was born. That was, like these little specialized people who are going to target on your behalf a different demographic. These were in the making before the pandemic, but do you think that what we experienced fast tracked the whole process, and now we're definitely turning the corner and like going to a different direction now?
yeah, definitely. I mean, we know our consumer better. We know what they like. We know how to contact them. We know we're using social media. We're using couriers. We're using all these things, and we have to remember where we are, right? We're in Canada, where every province has its own set of rules, and it's really challenging to figure out how to navigate through all that. Especially, it's tough for us in the industry, let alone being a consumer. So I think we've got a lot more awareness, and the consumer has a lot more awareness. They know they can get wines across the country and not get arrested anymore. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so
Yeah, no,
it's crazy to say that.
no, but it's one of the most lunatic part of the whole thing, because like being the kind of country that we are, and like being so archaic in the sense that we're running our province to province business. Anyway, that's a different topic for a different time. But we're working on doing a live show with some MLAs from across the country as well, just to bring the point, like to make sure that we can talk about it out loud and clear, that people understand. And it's critical for little people like you, from not little people, but little winery, little business, like the way you guys operate. That's critical that these borders have been open, and it's clear for you guys to talk to people from Victoria all the way to Newfoundland, and that you don't need necessarily the LCBO or to have your product on the shelf at the SAQ for Sue-Ann Staff to get their name out there. So It's a new era coming up, I think.
It definitely is a new era, and I love it. I love it. I love whatever it takes to get wine into people's hands. I love it, and the way anything we can do to make it easier for them as well is just everybody wins. Everybody
And you know
wins.
what?
Hashtag
And
winning.
that's going to lead me to my next thing. But it's not only the wine; it's about the story, right?
Right.
Like how to tell your story to people from Newfoundland, the people in Victoria, outside just of a Sue-Ann Staff bottle. That now with the power of social media, we can tell the story a little better than the young kid who works at the till at one of the retailers somewhere, right? We are storyteller, and it's so exciting to find that new way of telling stories across the country. So now that we're talking about storytelling, I need to know the Chestnut Tree story from you, because I read about it. Mira copy and paste it and send it to all of our members, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay, well, so there is a beautiful large horse chestnut tree just off the northeast corner of my home, just right there. And so the story is that, so back in the day, so this is like, I don't know, the 1800s, my my ancestors, the men would go to England in the wintertime, and they would take a ship of apples and pears with them and sell them. And while they're in England, they would buy more dairy cattle and beef cattle and bring them back. And they would use them for herd improvement and also to sell the cattle to the local other farmers. So one winter while they were gone, some bandits came through, and where our farm is, I need to explain that too. We're on it's a little country road now, but at the time it was one of the major roads through Niagara. So you had either King Street down below Niagara Escarpment, or you had our road, which is Stagecoach Road, just along the brink of the top of the escarpment. King Street was much higher traveled than Stagecoach Road. Anyway, one winter, these bandits came through. They broke into the house. They stole all the preserves and all the jellies and all the cheeses. And when they left the next morning, they left a riding crop, like a riding switch, stuck in the ground. And so they left it there to show the men when they came back and tell the story. And here's the evidence and everything. So they left the switch there, and it sprouted roots and became the chestnut tree that is there today. And so, the legend also has it, like, who were these bandits? And
that's what I want to know.
So these bandits apparently were Jesse James and his entourage. So when I told one of my retail staff this, she'd been here for about 7 years, and we're at that stage in our relationship where she doesn't believe anything I tell her anymore. Like, yeah, some relationships go like that. It's like, Sue-Ann's crazy. She's off her rocker. So,
sure. Like, the answer when it's, yeah, sure.
Yeah, whatever. So she went and researched this. Well, it turns out Jesse James spent the last part of his life avoiding the U.S. authorities in the Kitchener, Waterloo, Lucknow area. And so if he was coming from the States through Niagara to go there, he clearly wouldn't have taken King Street because it was too well traveled. He would have taken a lesser known road, Stagecoach Road, and that would have been the one right here. So regardless of whether it's true or not true, it doesn't matter. It's what my grandparents told me, and so therefore it is true, and I will continue to tell the story forevermore. And hopefully the next generation will too. And hence the chestnut tree. So chestnut tree, like, it's so broad and so big and so bold and well structured and has stability and structure. So I thought, well, the wine that parallels that is the Cabernet Franc. So hence the Cabernet Franc chestnut tree. So all the white wines in the portfolio are named after people in my family, and all the red wines are named after things on the property. And hence,
there you go.
The chestnut
tree. The chestnut tree, I loved the 17 vintage. Was when we talk about structure, that's exactly what I was talking about. The structure, the bright acidity, but also the cocoa and the cigar, and like the whole 9 yard, and also a little bit of the Black Forest cake. The 17 was, and I I saved the bottle of the 18, and I want the 18 to age maybe a couple more years to give it a little bit more of getting rid of the edge. But yeah, the potential of these wines are absolutely fantastic. Big fan of the Bell, the Merlot. Your Merlot is, I think it's completely from people from British Columbia, Okanagan Valley. They always said, "Oh, our reds are bold or big or juicy." But that's exactly how I describe your Merlot. Your Merlot is bold. Your Merlot is juicy. Your Merlot has structure. So yes, your reds are world class as well. And it's very, very well made. It's an exciting portfolio, like with your Riesling, the Fancy Farm Girl, the Merlot, the Cab Franc. So we had a lot of fun to work with your portfolio. Mira has the link ready for the reorder until Monday. Before we shut it down, we would like to move as many boxes possible, because we know that people from British Columbia or Western Canada, we want people to know the story and know your wine, because it's just fabulous portfolio. So thank you so much for your time. It's been so much fun chatting with you.
Yeah. It's been a scream. It's so much fun. Anytime you want. I love to tell the story. I love to talk, as you can tell. So I am here for you, Carl. We've really enjoyed working with you. And the orders we've had so far have been fantastic. What I love more than anything is like seeing all the dresses, going to Northwest Territories and Newfoundland. Like it really, you have touched the entire country with your club. That's a tough thing to do when like you're breaking new ground. You're showing people this can be done, and how it is possible to have a flow of wine across the country. And so gold star to you for having the vision and having the energy to you and to Mira for doing this. Like, you guys are rock stars.
You know what? I think it's a blend of passion, because we are passionate about world-class Canadian wine. And I know for my 25 years in the wine industry, what we make across the country, it's world class. Every time we have a seat at the table internationally, we come back home with big, big medals. We know when we have a seat, we can make some noise. So what we want to do is to make sure that Canadians understand that. And that's a fun conversation that I have with Marcel. And Marcel told me something about that I will never forget. And it's about and I was asking him, Marcel, who's your competitor around you? He's like, are you out of your mind? And imagine he's like, okay, can you hear his accent here? Are you out of your mind? I don't have competitor around me. My competition comes from Chile and Argentina. Everyone from Canada, our partner, we all go for the same goal, that people know what we're doing. And I was like, you're so right. It is such a great message, and that's what we want with Mira's skills and knowledge on like how to operate and navigate all of these social media. That was a little bit of a dinosaur on that. And she made me believe that, yes, it's doable. Doesn't matter if people are in the Yukon or Newfoundland or just outside of Toronto or downtown Toronto, that our message can go through. And that's why your energy just reflects exactly what we love to do. So I have to thank you for being part of it. It's been a thrill, and we hope that we can move a little bit more. I forgot talk about the Baco Noir, I think, for the barbecue season, for the rest of, it's my favorite barbecue. There's such a good, smoky little, like, medium body, not too tannin, but so versatile Baco Noir. You make one of the best. So great time, great chatting. Thanks for your generous time. I know you're a very busy girl, but I hope we can do that again.
I hope so too. Anytime. I'm here for you, Carl. Thanks for having me. Thanks for way too much fun.
Way too much fun, and we're planning, hopefully we can hit the road very soon and go see you in Niagara, so we can throw a big party out there and a big Cars Wine Club gathering, something pretty crazy, just like we do, you and me, how to throw a big party. Let's involve Marcel in that, and we'll create a world-class party.
I love it. I love it. I can even host. I have a beautiful, huge event tent here overlooking a pond, crystal chandeliers, chiffon lining. It's beautiful. So we can get it.
There
We can
you
get lots of
go.
people there.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Come
You have a
soon.
great
Come soon.
evening. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be in touch,
too.
okay?
Perfect. Great
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
All right. Thanks,
Cheers to
everyone. Thanks,
you.
folks.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club member, all of you across the country, Quebec, Newfoundland, Ontario, wherever you are, we really want to say thank you. It was such a great time chatting with Sue-Ann Staff from Niagara in Ontario. So on that, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your wine, your world-class Canadian wine, and we'll see you for the next Cellar Confidential. Bye-bye.